Hi guys, and welcome to another video from the Ben and Polly channel. Today I'm here with a Series 2 New Who episode ranking video. So first off, we've got 11 episodes including the Christmas special. So featuring at number 11 we have Fear Her, which isn't a very popular episode. So I shouldn't have to say much really about why it's at the bottom, but you know, this is my personal ranking, so while I do find bits of this episode quite amusing, like the Doctor and Rose pretending to be police officers and the whole fingers on lips thing, the whole scary drawing things is kind of a good idea, but I just don't think it's executed very well here. I can appreciate the kind of psychological themes they were going with here, and you know, there are lots of deep themes under the surface of this episode, but for me it's just not my favourite type of Who story. So next at number 10 we have Love and Monsters, another one which isn't very popular generally, but I know it's got a little cult fan base who love it for what it was trying to do. And again, there are bits of this episode that I enjoy and that are very entertaining and fun. The whole concept of people coming together and bonding over their love of the Doctor, and that on the surface is very good, and Elton is an okay character. Obviously the fact that the Doctor isn't there doesn't matter so much because of episodes like Blink and Turn Left in the future. But yeah, I appreciate that the Absorbaloff was created by a small child, you know, so the idea is okay, but it just doesn't sit right with me. It's a little bit of an embarrassing episode, to be quite honest, but yeah, it does have its moments, and obviously it's great for Jackie Tyler content, so thumbs up from me for that element. Next we have number 9, which is The Idiot's Lantern. This is just kind of a subpar episode for me, like bog standard average Doctor Who episode written by Mark Gatiss, who isn't my favourite writer, unfortunately. I tend to really like historicals, but this one just doesn't quite sit well with me. I'm not sure what it is, because the Doctor and Rose are fine, there's comedic moments, there's a okay plot, but I actually think this plot was done much better in the Bells of St. John, with people being absorbed by the Wi-Fi rather than the television. I found that more interesting, and the story told in a more engaging way. Maybe that was just because it was Clara's introductory episode, or the theme worked better with 11, but yeah, just not a fan of this episode, I'm afraid. We have New Earth, which I have to say is definitely still the weakest series opener for me. I get what Russell T Davies was trying to do, and for it to just be like a fun adventure in the kind of vein as The End of the World, obviously with the fact of Cassandra returning as well. But yeah, for me it's just not up there. I think Series 2 is quite weak for me, to be honest. It's not one of my favourites. The Doctor and Rose, you know, they're okay in it, but Tennant doesn't really shine until later on, and for me Rose was much better and more enjoyable in Series 1. It's all a bit camp and fun, but it's just a bit boring and forgettable, especially when most of the series openers are really epic, or they're the first story for a new Doctor. So next we have number 7, The Christmas Invasion, which I'd say is much more fun than New Earth, despite the fact that the Doctor isn't in it for most of the episode. There's so much going on. It's really a Christmassy, fun, good time, even though parts of it are obviously depressing. The comedic moments are just great. you get to see Mickey and Jackie has that fantastic scene where she screams, "I'm gonna get killed by a Christmas tree," which is just fantastic. The Sycorax are actually quite an interesting villain, and the fact that it was blood control, and then at the end you get the 10th Doctor fighting him on top of the spaceship, which is a really great scene, but you don't really miss him when you're watching the rest of the episode, because Rose is still very interesting to watch as she's kind of grieving for the 9th Doctor, and Harriet Jones is a very good character in this, and all the sciencey stuff is actually quite interesting in knowing where they're going to go with it, maybe because it was the first Christmas episode as well. So yeah, I really enjoy that one. Next we have number 6, which is Army of Ghosts Doomsday, which I don't think is as strong as some people see it. I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the Daleks and the Cybermen, but they're not really my favourite villains, so I have to look at it more as a character piece. And in terms of that, there's some great scenes with the Doctor and Rose, and great scenes with the Pete from the other universe, and the actual plot is quite decent, and there's some really funny scenes like the ones shown on the television of Peggy telling the ghost of Dem Watts to get out of her pub. Just classic Russell T Davies moments that I really appreciate. So next we have, moving on to the episodes that I quite enjoy now, more than the rest that I've mentioned so far. Number 5, Tooth and Claw. Yeah, this is a fun romp. It's not as strong as some of the other historicals that I really like, but it does have that threat, and Queen Victoria is a very interesting character, and it's a nice little run around, and there's a mystery to it. The banter between the Doctor and Rose is a little bit annoying, and that's what brings it down, but I actually really like how it's shot, and just how the episode looks, and the monster isn't too bad, so that's kind of a compliment in series 2. So next we have, this might be a controversial one, number 4, The Girl in the Fireplace. It's a lot of people's favourite episodes of all time even, but I guess just what brings it down is I just don't really like the character of Renette, Madame de Pompadour, and I don't find the relationship between her and the Doctor that believable. I really enjoyed the concept of the spaceship with gateways to France, and the clockwork droids are great, and great scene of the Doctor pretending to be drunk, and like there's little bits that are gold, which is why it's up so high. But yeah, I just don't like the main element of the story basically, which is a shame, but it's still a very strong episode from Stephen Moffat. Number 3, we have The Impossible Planet, The Satan Pit, which I still really enjoy watching as a 2-parter. The Ood, great introduction for them, and the Beast himself, really great, interesting philosophical questions being asked, and the Doctor being asked what he believes in, and Rose isn't too annoying in this one, which is a plus. You can see that she genuinely, loves the Doctor and wants to settle down with him, and it's all a bit awkward how he deals with it and everything. But there's a real threat in this episode, and the "don't turn around, I'm behind you" scene. Oh, it's so creepy. I really like how they play with the villain in this episode, and the supporting characters aren't too bad either. I enjoy them as well. So number two is Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel, which I rewatched it recently, and I found it much more enjoyable than the series 2 finale actually, and I think that's because I just really liked the different elements from the alternative Earth, and meeting the other Pete Tyler, and all the wacky crazy things that were different, and the comedic moments with Jackie and Rose being a dog in that universe, funny things like that. And when the Doctor and Rose pretending to be waiting staff at the event, and then all the stuff with Mickey and Ricky and Jake, there's just lots of stuff going on, and it feels very different. It does feel like you're in another world, and I just found that really engaging, whereas the finale is just kind of, oh, Dalek, Cyberman, it's very kind of same old, but this is much more about the characters and the different elements to them, which I found really, really interesting. So, but number one has to be School Reunion. You know, I like this episode much more now than I used to. I used to think it was quite overrated, mainly because I'm just not a massive fan of Sarah Jane. I do like her, but I thought, you know, why is this episode given such high praise just because a classic Who companion returned? You know, would it be as popular if it was another companion? I still don't know, really. And the fact that K9 is in it. But aside from that, I think the Krillitine are a great villain, and Anthony Head is amazing in this episode opposite David Tennant. The one annoying thing is the scene near the end where Mickey goes to turn off all the computers, and he just goes for that one mains plug and they all go off. That will always annoy me. But there's the amazing kid called Kenny who everybody thinks blew up the school, and just some amazing humour like that. And obviously the conversation between the Doctor and Rose about, oh, you wither and you die and I have to carry on, all this angst before it got too angst with Time Lord Victorious, but let's not go on to that. And then all the stuff, with K9, and I just think it's good fun, and it's got so much going on that it just pips the other episodes to the post. But I'd say the top 3 or 4 here are really enjoyable and in my top David Tennant episodes, but the ones below, I'd say, not going on any favourites list. Series 2 for me is quite weak, but I hope you enjoyed this ranking video, and please comment and subscribe and put in the comments your ranking if you like. See you later.